Well, let's go ahead and get started, you guys. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to send around a roll, and if you'll just sign this. If your name's not on this, then just go to the back page and you can add your name. So we'll go ahead and get this going around. So how many of you are experiencing your first ever basketball officiating meeting? Raise your hand. Don't be afraid of that. Yeah. Okay. What size of shirt do you wear? Medium. I missed the last size. Who else? Kavika, what size? Would you prefer white, purple, or black? Huh? Purple? And who else? Is there anyone else? What size?
I worked the game last year. Game 2 technicals.
Langford said to hold off for 2 years. Langford said to hold off for 2 years on shirts. All right. And who has attended basketball officiating meetings for more than 30 years? Right? What size are you?
Small, for sure.
Not white or black?
Black.
Does
it say penguins on it?
Bruce? You're more than 30. And so, I'm out of 2X. So white or black? Sorry.
You can still wear that for a night shirt. It's all been working at
All right, very good. We'll have some other free giveaways as we go throughout the evening. So, well, all right, so here's kind of our agenda for tonight. And I know you're all anxious to know what went on in the coaches forum, so we're going to start with that because I feel like that's probably the most important thing tonight. And we're only going to go for an hour, maybe not more than an hour and 15. So I want to get that started and go through that first, and then we'll cover any of the other items as we go. So for those of you that may not be aware, we held a coaches forum in 3 locations, and Trent had a lot to do with this, at least in the St. George area. Some of the coaches had talked to him about it, and we felt like, you know, let's just do one in 3 general locations. And we were very pleased with the turnout in Washington County. We had coaches from Snow Canyon, Pineview, Desert Hills, and Dixie. We were missing Hurricane. Is that it? Yeah. And yeah, Diamond Ranch. Didn't have anyone from there. Cedar. We had Canyon View was represented, and then last night over at Penwich, we had coaches from Penwich and Bryce Valley. And I can just tell you from the feedback and the way that went, as we continue to do these, it's only going to get better and better attended. All of the coaches were very, very pleased and appreciative of what we were trying to do with that. And so to just kind of give you an idea, we just opened the meeting up, just letting them know that we wanted them to feel as candid as possible about sharing some of their feelings and concerns. And we set some ground rules. We said we're not going to bash any officials. We're not going to bash any coaches. We're not going to discuss plays that happened last year or the year before or anything like that. We're having this meeting to go forward. Everything that's happened in the past has happened. We're going forward from here on out. So what we'd like you to do, coaches, is we would like you to give us any of your concerns and anything that we can logically work on as a group. With that, we're not going to change personalities. And so we're not even going to try to do that, just as we're not expecting you to change your personality. But there are rules, points of emphasis, game management kinds of things that we can teach as a group and try to get better and more consistent on that. One thing that is off limits is you can't say in your very first or second or third game, well, you discussed that in your forum. Why aren't you calling it? That's off limits. What you're presenting for us tonight are things that we can work on, and it may take, it's just like your players. You're working up towards the state tournament. You know, we're not going to come out in your first 3 weeks of the season perfect the things that we're going to discuss tonight. So you've got to let us work through these. And so with those ground rules, it was really a positive experience with the coaches. And so what we've compiled is one of our goals, one of our goal emphasis is on game management. And Sean and I have just compiled a list of things from the coaches that we put together as far as game management. Pre-game, game time, and post-game. And there are some things, specifics that we want to do as a group. And then there are some things that are left up to a little bit of latitude, how we're going to work through these. But, so I'm gonna have these, I'm gonna pass this out first, and then we're just gonna kind of go down through each little section and to kind of give you the exchange, how the feedback went with the coaches and how we came up to this. And then, we told them that we're meeting tonight, and, it's only fair game if there's some things that we discuss. We have a principals meeting with the 1A principals tomorrow at 9 o'clock. John will keep us informed of when the 3A principals meet. And we're gonna take back some of the things that we have. And so that's kind of our agenda. I do want to make sure that we have these scrimmages covered. This scrimmage will not be covered. I'm just gonna let them know. If you're available Tuesday the 24th, you're working the ball game. If you're not available and you can become available, it would be helpful. Because we do have, right now we do have more games than we can cover. And some of you are working 2 games. I know we've got some of our varsity guys that are working a 4 o'clock game and then moving up to a 7 o'clock game. So if you can make yourself available, then Tuesday the 24th. Canyon View, Clint, will you kind of be in charge of that one tomorrow night? You're not going, okay. Chris, will you be there? Okay.
As long as I can only work 2 minutes.
How many of you could be at the Canyon View scrimmage tomorrow? All right, good. So you've got Talon, Kobe, Gary, and Bob. That'll be enough for that scrimmage.
I don't know where we want to work, so yeah.
Okay.
So it's all good enough.
All right. Cedar High this Friday. Can anyone go to Cedar High this Friday? Okay. So we have 4 of you there. Caleb, you want to kind of be in charge of that? Okay. So, Caleb, we have Kelvin. Who else said that they could be there? Tommy and Gary. And Quanta, you can be there too? Okay, good. All right, so that's Cedar High, 7:30. Pineview, Monday the 23rd at 5:30, girl women's. Travis, you'll be in charge of that one. Okay, so we have Talon. Chet, you'll be there. Okay, Derek. Kavika, you'll be there. So you'll have plenty of that one. Desert Hills, they're just gonna have to change their date or time on that one. Valley, Mike, what does that look like for you? Okay, and then I'll see if Joe can be there. I may be able to come down to that one. Chad, I don't know if you'd be, where's Chad? Maybe, maybe not. That's Wednesday night, right? Or no, when is that? That's not correct. It's not gonna be Thursday. Yeah, I believe that's gonna be the 25th, but Mike, I'll let you know for sure. Okay. Then, the Valley Alumni Tournament. $30 a game. You're welcome to work all 4 games that night. Do we have any takers on that? That's Thursday evening at 4, Friday evening at 3, and Saturday at 3. 4 games a night. What's that?
Next weekend?
Next weekend. Yeah. Talon, you'd be okay on any of those days?
Yeah.
All 3? Okay, good. Thank you. Brian, are you open on any?
No.
All 3 days?
Are we going to use this as a game assignment on Arbiter or just go?
Just go, and I'll communicate with you on that. Any other?
I can do 27th and 28th, not the 6th, the 26th though.
Okay, 27, or Thursday and Friday. Okay. Jamie. Tommy, do you want to get involved?
Maybe Saturday?
Saturday, you bet. That sounds like we got him. So Jamie, you and Talon on Thursday, Friday. Tommy, you and Talon on Saturday. And I'll let you know. I'll give you the details. Okay, good.
Tell me on the 19th there, can you do, they just running one game going on? Because last year they had.
I should have
boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
But all on one court.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're not gonna go too close. They'll just move them in. Yeah. You all received the little email on the CNAP stuff. I'm not coordinating that. I just gave you the Chad's email or cell number. If you want to go to CNAP and work any games, they're paying $20 a game.
I'm trying to send emails, I had to call him because the email wasn't working, came back and
Okay. Did he say that I gave you the wrong address, or do you know?
I just called him.
Okay. I'll check with him to make sure. All right, good. All right, can you get those around, please? What's that? Yeah, we've got all the Ridgefield things covered. Let me just tell you a little bit about that. You know, as I mentioned in our last meeting, we chose to not take the $5 off kind of thing. We're going to get full fee mileage, and so in an effort to save mileage, Rich has used several of the Ridgefield officials, and that's okay. So we're just covering a few of the games now, and we've got those covered.
Almost paid. Just want to leave me out.
Okay, well, let's just go through this, and if you have any questions or comments, concerns, please, let's talk about them. And, Kobe?
Yeah.
Would you mind just jotting down a few notes as we go?
Sure.
About this?
Yeah.
Anything that you might want to refer to?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, so we just basically asked the coaches, what is your definition or your idea of a game manager? If we throw out game manager, at 6:30.
Do you have email?
I got Snapchat, so. Jack is,
Anyway, we just asked them, what is a good game manager? And we went right from the get-go. What do you expect out of a good game manager before the game even starts? And so, first thing, make contact with the game administrator to deal with issues outside the contest itself. Too many of the coaches felt like that they're in charge of everything. Not only are they trying to coach the kids, but if there's a fan that's getting out of line, it seems like we go to the coaches. If the toilet's clogged, it seems like we go to the coaches. Everything that happens at tonight's game, they just feel like, some of them just feel like we're putting the coach in charge. And so, making contact with the game administrator to deal with issues outside the contest itself. You may even need to approach the table and ask for help locating the administrator. So, here's what we'd like to propose to you. Number one, it's vital that you have an updated viewable picture on the Arbite of yourself. We don't care how you get that, but they've got to know who you are, particularly you younger officials. Now, most of you veterans, they know who you are, but we still want to have that there in case they assign an assistant principal or an assistant to be there tonight because they can. They need to know who you are, and we ask them, and we'll reiterate this with the principals, will you please make yourself known to the officials. Either let them in to get to the dressing room, or at some time come and introduce yourself, or let them know where you're going to be located throughout the community. Now, if that doesn't happen, will you please make it a point to find out who the administrator is if you don't know who it is? So we want to make sure that we're going through the game administrator for issues outside the basketball games. Comments or questions, Mike?
Most every school that's going to have their athletic director is there at 2 o'clock, and it should be just their film. 5 o'clock as
And that's in the 3A schools for sure. 1A schools probably don't have them. I mean, yeah. Right.
You may also be told.
Yeah, and if he's the coach, then definitely we gotta go with the principal. Other concerns on that, game administration. Okay, so we're all okay with that one? We just need to make contact with the game administrator and deal through them with any kind of problems outside of what's going on right there on the game. All right, good. Next one, being on time so that you are dressed and on the floor 15 minutes prior to tip-off. We have typically asked our sub-varsity officials to be there at least 30 minutes early. If you can't make it 30 minutes early, then you need to let me know that so I don't assign you a game that requires you to be there at that time. But we just need to be there early enough to get dressed, have a pregame. We prefer that you're there an hour early, just like in varsity. But we understand with some of these 4 o'clock games, you're just busting your butt to get there. And the principals realize that. But one of the biggest pet peeves of some of the coaches is that we have officials that aren't there on the floor ready to go when they're supposed to be. And so 15 minutes on the floor, ready to go. In the same conversation, then we asked him, what do you want us to do in the captain's meeting? And he said, well, several of them says, well, what do you do in the captain's meeting? Because you know that a lot of coaches now are sending players to those captain meetings that don't even play in the ballgame. They're 10 or 11 or 12 on the team, and they're just going to the captain's meeting because we have to have them. And we said, okay, so what would you prefer we do in the captain's meeting so your captains are actually there? And they said, well, we don't know. What do you want to do? So one thing that was brought up, particularly with the Washington County coaches, is that second little bullet under the captain's meeting. We want our players to talk to you only when it's helpful or required. Because you know that there are some players in that area that constantly want to talk. And their coaches don't want them. So this is what we would like you to do at the 15-minute mark. As soon as you come out on the floor, go immediately and do the captain's meeting. 2 things in the captain's meeting. Number 1, briefly discuss sportsmanship. However you like to do that, we have to make sure that we've discussed sportsmanship. And then just memorize it. Tonight you have been selected to communicate your coach's concerns. And that's it. We don't need to say, if you'll listen to us, we'll talk you out of some fouls. They don't want that. They want it as brief as we can, so that if we're gonna send our captains to your meeting, don't take 5 minutes with them, because we need them out here in the drills and preparing. You know as well as I do, they're not taking back what we say to them anyway. They're not taking back to their team what we tell them. So we really don't need to waste our breath and their time going through a big long pre-game spill with the captains. So discuss sportsmanship, and tonight you are responsible to communicate the concerns of your coaches. Right.
So when they're sending out 3 guys, usually we've asked, who's the speaking captain, so you're not asking that, all 3 of them are the ones that.
All 3 of them are speaking captains. And we told them that if those 2 captains aren't on the floor, or one of them isn't on the floor during the game, then will you please let us know who your speaking captain is during that period of time. Just simply say, hey, Chris, our speaking captain's number 24, because 10 and 12 aren't in the game.
So are we
Chris.
going to 15 because that's not the manual? Manual's at 10.
Well, the manual's at 10 because then we usually go and get the starters, check the book. Well, we're gonna go at 15.
They were 12, captains at 10.
Yeah.
Jackson's were all in 15.
We're gonna go 15.
If that's what all they want us to do, why even do it?
Well, number one, because we have to do the sportsmanship. That's what we've been mandated to do, is the sportsmanship.
Because you're right, they send out sometimes freshmen.
Yeah. And we asked them that. We said, will you send out your regular captains? And they said, yes, we will. Go ahead, Sean.
Our new officials manual, there's not a big meeting time.
Yeah, it is. Across the table at 12, page 13. Across the table at 12, referee goes to book, the other officials between 12 and 10 go get the captains, coaches, referee comes back, and again. That's fine. I'm good with it.
Kinda helps our teams go out to the locker room too. The earlier you get, the easier.
And that's what they said. They said, a lot of us, when you normally come right before the 10-minute mark, a lot of us are ready to go in.
And with that, after the captain's meeting, I would make a suggestion, set a referee table, if there are any problems that early, so they can get their books and start it done before the 10 minutes.
Definitely. So you'll notice right after that, coaches' meetings shall occur immediately following the captain's meeting. And so grab our captains, then go and talk to our coaches. And once again, really the only thing that we need to do with the coaches is verify if their team members' uniforms or equipment are legal. And all participants will exhibit proper sporting behavior throughout the contest. That's all you need to do with the coaches. The one thing that they didn't want us to say, Coach, we know how important your game is tonight. Well, I said, well, some of them are probably thinking, well, then why are you on it? But they think that every night's important. So why are we emphasizing the importance of this game tonight? We don't need to do that. We really don't. And so a simple little Coach Brown, Coach Goff, happy to be your officials tonight. Are your players legally and properly equipped and wearing the proper uniforms? And will you remind your players and all bench personnel to practice good sportsmanship? get a verbal from them, because that's right in the room. Get a verbal from them. Do you have any questions or concerns? Good luck. Then we're out of there. If we start that at 15, theoretically, we should be checking the book at about 13 or 12, which is just right. They haven't gone in yet. Coaches, we still need your starters in the book. Knock that out, and then we're done. And they can do what they want.
They commit to being on the floor at 15?
They have.
Sometimes they don't show up.
Yeah. And we told them, we gotta have you if that's what you want. So. Now remember, this is a work in progress. But that's what we'd like to propose. So we're on the floor at 15, go right to the captains, then to the coaches, then to the book. And now they're free to do whatever they want as well as we. Yes?
Are they gonna let like visiting teams that aren't from the area come down, or are they gonna let the visiting teams know that this is how it's gonna be too? That way coaches, the visiting team are like, wait, this is what's happening right now.
No, they will probably won't let them know that. So we'll just have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What else? Anything else on that? Sean, am I missing anything on that?
Oh, Kelly, maybe
Yes.
just the one thing on the, communicating your coach's concerns. And I know you'll go over this in the next section during game time, but just because we discuss that with the captains doesn't mean that we totally ignore the coaches. That we do know that.
Good. Yeah, so what, I guess, and let's go right into that. So let's go to the game time now and our communication with coaches. The one thing that they did bring up about that, so are we saying that the only communication that comes to you as an official is when we give a concern to the captain? Well, that would be great, if that's what it was. But no, that's not what we mean, Coach. We know that there's gonna be some questions that you have. But what this is doing is this is now preventing any player at any time to address us about something. Now, granted, you guys, that doesn't mean that we can't talk with the players. We need to open up that feeling that we're not just out here as robots doing exactly what the coaches want us to do. Sure, we're gonna still have communication with the players, and we can compliment them, and we can do things like that. But when it comes to coaches, when it comes to a concern about how we're calling the game, or why wasn't this called, that's gotta come through the captains, and it's a coach's concern. Questions on that? Mike?
If you have three guys in a captain's meeting and all three of them are out on the floor at the same time, the problem that you have is now you got three guys that are coming up to you wanting to, complain or gripe or something like that. But shouldn't we just still designate one person to be?
Well, theoretically, they are not coming to complain or to gripe.
But they do, because they always say, well, I'm the captain, I can talk to you.
Okay, and we've asked the coaches to eliminate that. If you're gonna allow us to designate them as your messenger, then they are your messenger. They're not just gonna come up and say, well, I'm the captain. Yeah. So, yeah, and I don't mind, let's talk about it. Do you think it's beneficial to designate one as the speaking captain? Because if they're not on the court, then we're gonna have to get one every time he's not on the court. Whereas if we have three, and our coaches have promised that they're gonna try to eliminate exactly what you brought up, we just don't want to have them designate a spokesman every time that guy gets taken out. You know what I'm saying?
Alright, it's easy enough to get 2 or 3 kids, coach, you say, yeah, pick one and talk to me, you know? And communication, of course, leads on most of the time, that if you got all 3 of them, you see that they come with you, come at you and say, hey guys, pick one guy to talk to me and let's talk, you know? And you guys, the rest of the show.
Good. Any other thoughts on that? Casey? Sorry, I failed to mention that Casey's here tonight. Yeah. Casey, no, it is a big deal. Casey's gonna be helping us this year with some of our training. And, you know, we value his experience. And so any part of this that you have some thoughts, just interject. Okay, so anyway, communication with coaches. And, you know, we tried in our best way that we could to just let them know that, you know what, we want to have those lines of communication during the game. But it's not going to be dialogue from start to finish. And so we put acknowledgement, listen to coaches' legitimate concerns by responding without degrading, be genuine. And I would say probably the overwhelming concern that they have is that if we get in a tit for tat conversation with them, then all of a sudden we're now trying to one up them, and that's not where it needs to go. They would much rather us acknowledge that they have a question. Don't just flat out ignore them. Don't go up and down the floor 3 or 4 or 5 times when they've been asking about something. Simply acknowledge them. And if you have to go by them and say, Coach, I hear what you're saying. Next dead ball opportunity, let's talk about it. So at least you've acknowledged it. And then when an appropriate time comes, you can address whatever their concern is. Once again, the continuous dialogue, and we just told them, that, you know, there may come a point where we just might have to say, all right, Coach, that's enough tonight on that issue. And they said, you know what, if we know that that's enough, then just let us know that.
Works every time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bob was one of the bigger proponents of it. He really was.
Does that count before the toss?
So, you know, and we told them we're not going to take personalities out of this, Coach. There are some that do better with that than others. And we're just going to have to work on that. Particularly at the younger, at the sub-varsity level, we just need to practice how to communicate with coaches. We really do. We just have to practice that. And so that when they have a concern, that we can address them in a way that we're not looking down on them or belittling them because they don't know the rules. You know, we just gotta somehow learn how to do a better job. Comments? Go ahead.
The one thing that I would suggest, since I screw this up all the time, we don't have to answer a statement. When the coach is telling you you missed a play, or he's ranting, ready to blow off steam, and I get out the lane about this all the time. We don't have to answer that statement. We don't have to answer until they ask us a question. Then we acknowledge them and it goes much better. You missed that play, or blah, 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 blah. Coach, I hear you. But don't get into a dialogue with them because they don't want you to answer it because they already have their opinion. If they ask you a question, now we get an opportunity to attempt to answer before they start talking again. But just be very careful that we don't have to explain every call we make. And if you attempt to, you're going to get eaten alive. That's right.
So it's the follow-up that, once they do ask the question, put this in your repertoire, by rule, coach, and then go. So know your rules.
Very good. 2 or 3 things to follow up on that. The other thing to put in your repertoire is, Coach, this is the way I saw it. Okay? They can't do much about that. From where I was on the floor, this is the way I saw it, and this is the way I viewed that play. Okay? But, you know, so things like that, we have just got to be prepared to address with the coaches. You know that a coach will almost, and I'm not going to say every time, but almost every time, will back off when we say, you know what, Coach, this is the way I saw that. I might have missed it. Tell you what, the coach will back off. Now, we're not going to say that 6 or 7 times during the game. So you've got to pick the time that is best to say, you know what, Coach, this is the way I saw it, and I might have missed that. Even better, you know what, Coach, I flat out missed that. And I'll tell you what, for a coach, for you to and I think that's, where do we have that? Consistency. Second bullet on consistency. Match each other's good calls. Have the courage to recognize and avoid repeating the poor calls, and be willing to communicate to a coach when you miss a call. Yeah.
So then free throws, what's the mechanic for the trail official, free person mechanics on the first free throw? Where are they supposed to be?
Trail official is backed up closer to the mid-court line than they are on the second free throw.
They made us now go to half court because we got trapped in, okay, every free throw we're gonna have a conversation. And so now, coach, I'll be over there in a minute. Get the half court and let him, by the time the third free throw comes around, most of the time,
They're
not
done.
what he's mad about. But if he's still, I mean, so something to think about, 3-person mechanics, and maybe even 2 as well. The first free throw, give yourself a little bit of space. Coach, I'll be over there in a second. I'll talk to you, just give me a minute. And I mean, they forced us, which I think is fantastic, to get away from them and let them have their moment.
2-person for us, probably not as much, because remember with our new free throw violation, the free throw line violation, we need to have our trail official coverage on that. So as far as that goes, but you know, there are times when we can address the coaches. And as long as we acknowledge that they want to have conversation, if we don't do it in a demeaning or a looking down kind of an attitude, that's really all they want. Now, work in progress, we'll see if that's all they want. But as for right now, that was one of their bigger concerns when it came to this. Let's go to the consistency thing. You always hear the coaches say, just be more consistent. We made it very clear that if you're running a full court press all night and the opponent's in a 2-3 zone, we're not going to be consistent the way that you want us to be consistent. So here's what we will teach our officials in the consistency department. Number 1, enforce the rules and points of emphasis from start to finish and from game to game all season. They want that. And if we don't do that, that's what they're talking about. You're not being consistent. Now, what do we do with the fact that when we come out, we always say, let's start calling the hand check tight, let them respond, and then we can loosen up. Well, that's okay, because who's made the change? The players have. And so we can go with the change. But if the players aren't making the change, then we have to keep calling them. And that's what they want. So we can loosen up as long as the players have made the adjustment, so we can. And sorry, There might be a JV game that goes a little more than an hour and 15 minutes. But this is what you wanted, coaches. So consistency with rules enforcement, points of emphasis from start to finish and from game to game all season. And most of them said, you know what? We'll see the points of emphasis the first 3 weeks of the season. And by the end of the season, we don't even know what the points of emphasis are, because we quit calling them. And so they're asking for that. So we can oblige you on that. If they want to adjust, then let your players adjust. And they said that. We'll adjust, but we just got to know what to adjust to. Particularly the new post play rule. They were very concerned about that. That if once that post player gets the ball, now they're a ball handler and dribbler, the arm bar, the two hands, the on and off, we got to call it from start to finish, from game to game, till the end of the season. And if we will do that, then we'll teach our players how to adjust. So we just need to do it. Comment or questions or concerns?
Would you explain post?
Yes. So the post player rule, right? Come on, John. Come on. And we did this in our meetings. We showed them what we're talking about. So John's the offense, I'm the defense.
You're not very big for a post player.
Okay. So I've got an arm on. I'm guarding him. Okay. The ball comes in. Now that's got to come off. I can come up. I can do this. That's got to come off. This has got to come off. And you know what, folks? It's really easy. The first time he gets the ball and I'm here, we toot the whistle. Second time he gets the ball and I'm here, toot the whistle. If they want us to back off, then they better teach their kids to back off. And that's what they want. That's all they want.
So when that post player gets, most post players are gonna do something with it like that. Do you want us to blow that whistle with his arm in?
As he's turning.
As he's turning, yeah.
No.
Okay.
If he's making a move, then let him finish the move and have a patient whistle.
Gotta give him a chance to vote.
You bet. Have a patient whistle. Oh yeah, we gotta be talking the whole time.
Drop your arms.
Get the arm off. Yeah, drop the hand. Get the hand off. Yeah. Oh yeah. You bet. Any talking that we can do in the post, by all means. The two hands on, really simple. Because all you have to do is when you come out and report, that's a foul on 23, two-hand mechanics this year. 23, two hands on. You let everyone know you can't have two hands on the post.
What's the arm bar mechanic?
What's that?
The arm bar mechanic.
Push.
Yeah, it's from behind, push.
Push. Arm bar, whatever you want to say there. The proper mechanic is push. Chandler.
You just showed there, you showed when John came up and you guys did the contact, you had your arms in between both of you, and you said that was a foul. So
Not when he doesn't have the ball.
okay. So it's gotta be here, right, you foul? So basically you guys, you bump, your arm bar is.
Oh yeah. Remember an extended arm bar. Good point. Because if I'm just there kind of protecting myself, then we're not going to call that, folks. That's a good clarification. An extended arm bar is now the foul. Good. What else on that, Mike?
Did coaches say anything about officials talking with players? I mean, we all know about preventing officiating and how that helps. But I've had coaches say, I don't want you talking to my players. And so I don't know if they talked about that or.
They did.
Most of them.
They did. In fact, none of the coaches even had a concern with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, I think this is where we have to be now really good as referees. If they're not gonna let the defender do this, soon as he catches, as he drops his hand, what does he do?
Yeah.
So, thank goodness they let this happen in our game again, but if he does this, y'all, and he makes contact with that guy, have the courage, offensive foul.
That's exactly.
Because what can he do other than just stand there? So now, if I make that move and drive through him, you gotta have courage to help the defender, because guess what? The defender can't play defense anymore.
No, no.
I mean, so he's in trouble.
And we brought that up. We said, you know what, this is not just on the defense. Because if our offensive players now feel like, hey, we have free reign now, they're calling this on the defense. No, they don't. And they start backing them down like they do, punch an offensive foul. Yeah, just punch an offensive foul. Travis.
Back to Brian's comment. If he keeps an arm bar on the player once they've received the ball, we're not calling fouls.
Okay, Brian, come here, let's demonstrate what you're talking about. Or we'll demonstrate it, John, come here. I'll be the offensive player, you be the defender. Okay, so I'm gonna catch the ball now. So I just caught the ball, and I make the move. Now if he keeps it on, yes. But when I catch that ball, get the arm bar on, drop it, okay? Yeah, drop it. Okay? So that initial move, we're not going
They
to.
catch the ball.
Right.
He's there. Arm bar stays on. He hasn't made a move.
Then we're gonna call it. He's gotta drop it. Now, what you're thinking of here, folks, just put this in your memory. What would we call on a guard out on the perimeter dribbling the ball? It's the same thing. And once that guard gets the ball, and we're like this, so you just got the ball, guard, okay? If I pull it off, we're not gonna call that. I may even go like this initially, we're not gonna call it. We never have. It's that constant hand-on or an extended arm bar. So just think of them as a dribbler. We're going to call it the same way we would a dribbler. Advantage disadvantage. Okay. Now here's a tough one, but here's the other thing we said about consistency. We want to match each other's good calls and have the courage to recognize and avoid repeating the poor calls. So we're going to ask you as officials to have the courage to come together on your first time out, and maybe even your second time out, and just say, Sean, I really didn't like your player control foul. And let Sean have an opportunity to say, you know what, I didn't mean to. So we're not going to match that tonight. But if we come together, Sean, that was an awesome player control foul. I have got to match that the rest of the night. Now, coaches, we can be consistent in that. We can't be consistent in what you might think is consistency. But if we're calling the same kinds of fouls in your game, we can be consistent in that. So that's the consistency area that we're going to try to work on. Match each other's good calls, admit when we've made a poor one, and try to avoid making them during the night. Friday.
You might want to ask that in a different way than what you just said. Let that official, hey, what did you think about your player control foul? If you have a question about it, you gotta know if you wanna match that. Let him say, nah, I probably didn't like that. Guy was moving or whatever.
What if they say, I thought I was right on, but you know they weren't?
The sweet say we'll change. Here we are again.
Because that's the problem.
You know, me and you talking that's one
We
thing.
can do that.
We can do that.
Yeah.
You know, there's some people that are younger that you don't want to ruin their confidence on that first time out.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
so,
Good.
Because it's fresh in my mind, and I know what the play was, and I would want that immediate feedback. So that I didn't make that same mistake again.
Good.
And you kind of know when you did it.
Yeah.
Wait, you do.
I mean, it's not like you can move that and say, hey, you know, you need to, that wasn't really nice.
Yeah. Now, folks, and we're not gonna analyze all 54 calls during the night. We're not gonna do that, because then we'd need to take 3-minute timeouts for some games. No, we're not gonna analyze all of our calls, but we wanna be able to say, you know what? I'm loving what we're calling tonight. I think maybe we can do a little bit better job on the rebound fouls. We have just got to be together as a crew and be consistent on the types of plays that we're calling tonight. And we told them that's something that we can work on to be consistent.
Joe, just on that point, I think the plays where we need to communicate, you guys, is a play the basket, somebody gets fouled, somebody.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Who cares? I mean, I might have missed one, I might not have. Block charge plays, everybody in the world sees them. Moving screen plays, everybody in the world sees them. But have the courage to say, Brian, you know what, that last block charge play, not so sure. So he knows. I mean, have courage to own it. You know, Mike say some of us don't know that we suck sometimes, but I think the good ones know when we suck. But I think it's the block charge plays, the moving screen plays, that when you match them, what are the coaches going to say? But the one thing I would add to that is, if you kicked it, I don't want Brian to go down and kick the one on the other end to make me look better, because guess what? Now we both kicked it.
And we're not going to match the kicks. Remember, we're going to match the good calls. Yeah. Okay. And then we've already talked about that would be willing to communicate to a coach when you missed a call. And that's going to go a long way. Post game, as much as the coaches express this, I don't know, but they're willing to, when it's over, it's over. Approach every game with a clean slate. So, unless you have a knockdown, drag out with the coach during a game, I really don't care if you give a technical foul. Because they're gonna, when it's over, it's over. And for you, when it's over, it's over. And they said that. They said, you know what, we can't go on with these kinds of problems throughout the season. We just gotta leave it alone, just let it go. And folks, if you're bigger than the game, we really don't want to see you on the court. They just want us to be out there working for the kids. It's not about us. It's not about them. It's about those 10 players on the floor. And that's really how they want us to approach it. So when it's over, it's over. And so that's what came from our meetings. What do we need to add to take back to them?
Scale 1 to 10, where are they with liking what we do?
They are, I would say, at least the feeling I got, they're at a 7 or an 8, at least an 8. I mean, the very first thing out of the St. George coaches, Ryan Cuff, the very first thing that came out of his mouth was, we just want you guys to know how much we appreciate what you do for us. Because we gotta have officials. And we know you're trying to get better, and we just appreciate what you do.
Brother said.
Yeah. You know, we brought up the fact that we have given you the opportunity to block 3 partners. I don't know if I mentioned that. You can block up to 3 partners. You can block any schools that you want. They have the ability to block anyone that they want. But just know that if you block anyone or any school that you're not available to work any game. So if you're rated a 100 official right now, and you choose to block 2 people because you can't work with them, you're not a 100 official because you can't work any game. And that's part of the 100 level, is you're available to work any game. Now, if they choose to block you, now that's different. And they have that prerogative. They can send a letter to the state and ask for, how does that all work, Mike?
The coaches, they're supposed to contact the state and give good reason why they want to block them. Normally, they're gonna, get some more information. Just because they had one game, they're not gonna allow you to block the officials. There's gotta be some distance between them. Good.
So I don't quite understand that.
Go ahead, Bruce.
So you have the ability to work the game. You're a 100 ranked official, but if you choose not to work with somebody, you're saying that you're not a 100 ranked official.
We are.
And is that a new policy in the association?
Yeah, it is. And it is because we feel like that you can't work any game. Case in point, if we have, well, I can just tell you in football, we had a particular official that didn't work a second round of the playoffs because of that.
But it doesn't change your ranking. You're still a 100 official. It's just you can't work every single game that he could put you, that you
No,
can be assigned.
you are not a 100 official.
You're
because
changing the
you
assignment.
can't work any game.
Are you changing the person's rank definition?
Yeah, they'll be a 150 because they can't work any game. And we just feel like that if there are concerns among our group, that we need to address them. We just need to address them. Now, if there is a situation, just like we said with the coaches, if there's a knockdown, drag out, that we just know that, then that's a singular situation that we need to address.
So we've allowed that to happen over the years. We would call you, tell you, one person would call you, tell you, with the person you would hire.
You're right, but we can't do that now. We're just not in a position to do that. And it does affect assignments, because there are some nights that we just don't have that latitude. Yeah.
Guys, I just something to think about, and Kelly, maybe I'm not lying by saying this, but if you block somebody out, you better check your ego. Because there's some real ding-dongs that I referee with, that would run me over with the bus and back over me with the train, because they want the game that I don't have. If you can't go referee a basketball game with the 2 guys you're assigned with, I think it might be you that has a problem. Now, if there's something that happens in the game, where they sell you out with Coach Brown, or they sell you out with one of the coaches down in St. George, I think it's very appropriate to call Kelly and say, you know what, this happened in our game last night, but for you to say, hey, I can't work with so-and-so, doesn't mean you have to go to dinner with them after, doesn't mean you have to go to the game with them, you work your butt off for 2 hours, and then you're done with it.
Case, there's a big difference.
I don't think so, because
You can get a check for $3,000.
I wish, but I agree with that, but I think what we do is we have a conversation with Kelly and say, Kelly, you know what? This guy is throwing you under the bus 3 times with Coach Cuff. I think that's an appropriate conversation.
It is.
And I know, Brian, I get it, but the point is, young guys, until it happens to you, don't start blacking people out. Just because they're a bad play caller, guess what? They are at every level. But if they start doing things to you personally in the game that ruins your credibility with the coach, that's a conversation to have with Kelly. But to say, no, I don't like working with Chandler, he didn't want to go in and have a burger with me after, get over it. And what Ryan's saying is right. There are some guys, they're bad guys. But did they do something to you in the game? Or is it because you didn't want to go to dinner with them and have ice cream after? young referees, allow them to do you wrong before you get a bad feeling about that person.
Thank you. No, and that's exactly what we're saying. We have just decided that, you know, if you make that choice, there's just consequences that go with the choice. We're allowing you to block 3 people, but we're also saying, if you choose to do that, you're just not going to have a 100 ranking, because you can't work any game now. And we've had that as the 100 ranking all along. That has never changed. It says right on our form, 100 can't work any game. So, and once again, if there are singular situations that we need to address, then we're okay with it. But just know, and because we want to honor the fact that you can block people if you don't want to work with them. But the consequence of that is your ranking will be affected. And so that's kind of what we decided how we decided to approach. All right. What else, Sean? Okay, what I'll do is, I think in the interest of time, I've got all of the preseason tournament dates that I was just going to put up on the board, but in the interest of time, I'll just email that out to everybody. The dates for all the preseason tournaments so that you can get your schedule set. So I've assigned everything up through Thanksgiving. People, already, the 24th of November, we've already had more turnbacks than we needed. And I thought that I was very, very clear on getting your calendar set. There should be no excuse at this point for not having your calendar set. So just get it done, and I'm just telling you, when every single official is officiating on November 24th, and 3 people have to turn games back, that's going to create about 10 or 12 different changes, just to try to work people around so that we can cover the games. So just get your close dates in, and I'll be working on the next set of assignments at the end of this week and the first of next week. We have tournaments already on December 4th and 5th. That's the weekend after Thanksgiving. And from that week clear to New Year's Day, there's tournaments every weekend. So just so you know, every weekend in December, there are tournaments besides regular season games. So if you're open, you'll work. All right. Younger officials, I'll get an email out to you. We want you to be able to do some whistle analysis. You can find this form on SUOA.org. I have a bunch of those up here. And so you can grab those. First, second, third year officials. Those of you that were asked to be a mentor, will you stay after for just 5 minutes max as a mentor if you can do that? All right, that's it. Thank you.
You don't care how many technicals you get out of her, coming out of the locker room, baby. I know. Awesome. I designate, or designated. Do what you gotta do, man.